Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Walkthrough Radio Show. Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. K-Walk, what's going on today, man? Football is here, man.
Woo,
It's here. How you
woo.
feeling this morning?
Hey, I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. And Jay, when you just said that, man, I got chills down my spine, man. It's great. We had a little bit of a preview last night. I know we're going to dive into to Nebraska and Northwestern and some other games, man. But it's a great it's a great time of the year, Jay. That's all I can say. It's a great time of the year. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. No doubt. Just I know we didn't get the full dose of college football yesterday, but just to get introduced to a few games, man, it definitely got
Yeah.
me excited and ready to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk NFL today. We're going to talk some college football. We got some NBA talk. We're going to be all over the map today. So sit back and enjoy it. If you're watching on YouTube, it's at the Walkthrough Radio Show. Like the video, subscribe. We definitely appreciate the support. Walk, man, I
Sure.
usually say something about your Yankees when they're losing, so I got to show them some love. It looks like they got some things
Appreciate
turned around. You
it.
feeling a little better about the Yankees now?
A lot better, a lot better. Even though we lost a tough one in extra innings last night, 3-2 to the A's, feeling a lot better, Jay. We're back on stride. I kind of knew that this was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to be this bad, but now they came back. They're back to their winning ways, if you will. So I'm happy, man. All is well in Yankee land right now.
All right, for sure. All right, let's get into it, man. Nebraska, Northwestern. That was the game I was trying to watch yesterday until Fox took it off for the Falcons
Yeah, I know.
preseason game. But man, I was on Twitter and there are a lot of people calling for Scott Frost's head
Yeah,
after one game
yeah.
losing to Northwestern yesterday. What say you, K Walk, man? Is it time for Nebraska to move on from Scott Frost? Does he need more time? What are your thoughts on this whole Nebraska situation?
Yeah, Jay. I mean, I think it's time, man. I think when you lose a game like this to Northwestern where you were heavily favorites, even though they were in a neutral site over in Dublin, Ireland, excuse me, they they were favored to win this game. I think about what 13 points for whatever the number is. They were big time favorites to win this game, and rightfully so because you have a Nebraska team who's in the Big Ten. It's a Big Ten rival. You have Scott Frost. I know Scott Frost coming into this. I don't think he's that confident, Jay, because if you look at what he did with his contract, I think he reduced it $1 million from 5 million to 4 million, and he also reduced his buyout contract as well from 15 million to 7.5 million. So that just goes to show me like he's just holding on. He really feels like he doesn't need to be there, but he feels like this is a situation right now that I don't think he can get out of, Jay. And I think that right now we see what is he 15-30 coming into the season, Jay. That's unheard of
Yeah.
in Nebraska, man. That's unheard of in Nebraska. So I think that if Nebraska is going to do it, they have to do it now because that loss yesterday and some of those coaching moves that he made yesterday, Jay, it was very questionable, and it just seems like that defense. They weren't wrapping up. It's like they weren't prepared, Jay. They weren't wrapping up. Too many broken tackles, too many missed tackles there, Jay. I think if Nebraska has to do it now, man, they have to do it now.
Yeah, man, there's a ton of Nebraska people that would definitely agree with that. And you're right, man. Some of the coaching decisions, a little bit of a head scratcher to go for an
Yeah.
onside kick when you're up. After that, the momentum just really took a turn
Yeah.
in Northwestern's favor. What concerned me as well, K Walk, was some of his comments after the game where
Yeah.
he said that the offensive staff is going to have to learn that things are a little bit different in this league and that they're going to have to be a little bit more creative. I don't know if you want to throw your offensive
Nah.
staff under the
Nah.
bus like that, K Walk, this early in the season. So, man, things are heating up in Lincoln already. I guess the other question, though, I have for you, K Walk, is do you feel like look, he's 15-30, like you said, so there's
Mhm.
no excuses. But like when we were coming up in the 80s and the 90s, Nebraska
Yeah.
was a football powerhouse, an
Right.
absolute
Tom Osborne.
powerhouse. Even when Scott Frost played there, right? They
Yeah.
really good
Hmm.
football teams. I feel like things have changed in college football now. Do you ever see Nebraska kind of getting back to that level? Are the best college football players in the country going to Nebraska, or is it time for Nebraska football to kind of readjust their expectations? Maybe they're no longer a 10, 11, 12 win football program.
Right.
They're a 7 or 8 win program. What do you think about that, K Walk?
Yeah, I don't think you ever tell it's a program with high expectations. You mentioned the early 90s, 90s and with Tom Osborne and those guys, Tommy Frazier and those
Yeah.
guys. I just think when you're a prestigious program like that, you don't you continue to set the bar high, and those expectations have to continue to be high. So if they want to switch gears, if they want to change their mentality, man, then they have to change the coaching. I mean, right now, I mean, this is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I know Scott Frost is an alum. I know he won some big time games there for them when he was playing, but right now he just doesn't seem to be the answer, Jay. And I don't think they're going to get any guys to come to this particular program as long as Scott Frost is the head guy there. I just don't see it. There's nothing attractive about it, especially with the Big Ten becoming what it is, especially in the next few years. It's going to be hard to attract big time players to Nebraska if Scott Frost is there.
Yeah, man. Look, I tell you what, I do agree with you. I think they need to, if they're going to make a move, if they're thinking about making a move, I think the sooner the better. Like last year, there were rumblings, hey, maybe it's time to move on, and they didn't do it. Now, if they have a repeat again this year, it just feels like another year lost. So already in college football, man, things are heating up. The fans are crazy, they're passionate. So we'll keep watching, man. We'll see what happens next
Sure.
with Scott Frost. But playing in that conference, they're going to have a lot of tough Saturdays. So
Yes.
if they're going to get it turned around, they're going to have to do it in a hurry. Let's stay in the Big Ten, K Walk. I'm feeling nervous already as my Penn State Nittany Lions open up against Purdue this Thursday night, 8 o'clock on Fox. Home first games are always tricky anyway in college
Yeah.
football, as you know, K-Walk. No preseason. Those first games are always just very interesting to
Yes.
see how things are going to go. A new team in a lot of ways from the year before. Purdue, to me, is going to be a tricky opener at Purdue. Yeah. Purdue is a team that's getting better. I think they're a very well-coached football team. I'm not sure what Penn State's bringing to the table this year. Does this one have upset written all over it for UK Walk? How do you think this thing's going to play out?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to call it an upset, though, Jay, if Purdue were able to win this game for two reasons. One, they're both not ranked. They're both not in the top 25, first and foremost. And two, they're at home, meaning Purdue. So I don't think that you can call this an upset. I don't see it. I don't see Purdue winning, though. Don't get me wrong. But if it were to happen, I just think it's just two evenly matched teams at this point, that this team is just the better on that particular day. You mentioned the coaching there. You got Coach Bram out there for sure. They're coming off of a really good season, meaning Purdue 9-4 last season. They got the young kid there, the quarterback, and Aiden O'Connell. So they're coming off of a really good season. So and Penn State is coming off of a not so good season. I mean, Penn State started off really hot last season. They were 5-0. They're bringing back Sean Clifford. Then they end the season 7-6, Jay. So that's saying something. That's 2-6 right there. In wins, and then they lose, the Outback Bowl to Arkansas as well. So the momentum right now seems to be with Purdue. I noticed the season, it was an off season there, but I'm still going to take your Penn State Nittany Lions, man. I'm still going to take Penn State in this one. I am, man, because I think James Franklin is going to get it done. I think Sean Clifford is going to find a way to win this game. If they don't win it, I won't be surprised, but I'm going to pick Penn State in a close one. I'll say about 6 points, 3 to 6 points. It looks right to me in this one, but I do like your Penn State Nittany Lions to win the first game.
All right. Well, look, that makes me feel a lot better because I just have no idea about this one. I really don't, man. But I'll tell you what, like we talked about the Nebraska fan base. If Penn State loses this game, the Penn State fan base is going to go crazy because, like you said, the last few years, it just hasn't been, 8 wins, 7 wins, 9 wins. Penn State fans are wanting to get over that hump. And if you lose the opener and then you got to go play Auburn in a couple weeks after that, I don't like it. So this is a game that Penn State absolutely has to win. So
Mhm.
Man, I think I'm going to take Penn State as well, but like you said, man, maybe 3 points, something like that. I think this one's going to go right down to the fourth quarter. So
Yeah,
good stuff there, K Walk. College football is back. I'm loving it.
indeed.
Can't wait because there's some huge games this weekend that I know you're going to talk about in the
Yes.
second half hour. So it's definitely going to be a fun weekend. K Walk, let's grab our break a little early because when we come
All right.
back, we're going to give the people the 7 teams that are going to make the playoffs in the AFC. And ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not when I tell you I changed my list at least 5 times. I know K Walk did the same for his. We were going back and forth last night
Yes.
trying to get this thing figured out. So stick around. We're going to tell you every team that's going to make the playoffs in the AFC when we come back. You're listening to the walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins, right here. Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. All right, K Walk, this was tough, man. The NFC, the AFC playoffs, guys. We did the NFC the other night on the shoot around, the NFL Takeover show on the shoot around. So if you missed that, go back and check out that show. Kevin Walker, Brittany Jones, and myself laid out who was going to make the playoffs in the NFC. Now we're going to do the AFC here this morning, and this was tough. I've got a lot of cross outs, a lot of rewrites, but K-Walk, I'm going to put the pressure on you first. Let's do it the same way. Let's go with the 4 division winners first, then we'll circle back around and do the other 3 teams. So give me your division winners in the AFC.
Yeah, Jay. Yeah, this like you said, this was a tough one last night. I text you. I was like, Jay, I'm having trouble with this one, man. Um, so some of the teams that I left out, man, if they make it, I'm not surprised. But to start it off with, I'm going to start with the East, the AFC East. I like the Bills to win this one. The Bills are not only the favorite to win this division. I think in a lot of people's minds, they're favorite to win the Super Bowl as well. So that was kind of an easy one for me to start off with. With the North, the second division, I went with the North. And I went with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they'll repeat in this division. You look at this division from top to bottom. You got the Bengals. Of course, you got the Ravens. You're not sure what you're going to get with the Steelers right now because of that whole quarterback situation there. And obviously, the Browns are going to be without Deshaun Watson for the first 11 weeks there. So this was kind of an easy one for me as well. So I went with the Bengals in the North. The South, I went with the Colts here. And I think that the addition of Matt Ryan there is huge. So they replaced Carson Wentz. They have a really solid defense. Obviously, they have a really good running game with Jonathan Taylor there. And I think Frank Reich is going to get it done this year. So I'm going to say the Colts win the South. As the West, I'm staying consistent here, and I'm going to say the Chargers win the West. I mean, I just think this is arguably not arguably, I think in unarguably it's the best division in all of football. We're talking about the AFC West, so I'm going with the Chargers there. Now, this is where it got tricky for me, ladies and gentlemen. This is where I was deleting and copying and pasting. I was doing everything, man. But the fifth team I got going, I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Let me give my
okay.
division.
Okay, my bad.
We'll circle back around because you're right, man. That 5, 6, and 7, I don't know what that's going to look like, man. But like you in the East, I took the Bills. That was the easiest one for me. That one felt like a no-brainer. So I grabbed the Bills in the AFC East as well. I agree with you. Not only the AFC East winner, wouldn't be surprised if they represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Right. I think that feels like one of the things I'm more confident about in this conference. In the North, I'm with you, K-Walk. I took the Bengals. I wanted to show them a little bit of love for making the Super Bowl last year. I know I said before, I don't know, Super Bowl hangover maybe. But right. You look at this team, you look at some of the other teams in the division, like you said, Cleveland, we don't know what we're going to get there. Pittsburgh, new quarterback. So there's just the Ravens. Yes, that was the team I kind of went back and forth with, but I gave the nod to the Bengals just like you did. In the South, I went with the Tennessee Titans. I was going back and forth between the Titans and the Colts. You mentioned Matt Ryan. I guess me having that close-up look of him the last few years here in Atlanta, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure, K-Walk. So I went with the Titans. Great running game as well. I know they're going to play good defense. I'm going to take the Titans in the South. And then out west, where, like you said, man, all four of these teams, I would, if any one of the four won the division, it wouldn't be a complete shocker.
Right.
I try to stay consistent, and I took the Denver Broncos to win the
Okay.
West. I know that sounds crazy, but I love Russell Wilson, so I'm gonna go with the Broncos. I'm gonna put my trust in Russ, and I'm gonna take the Broncos to win the West. So I got the Bengals, the Titans, the Bills, and the Broncos. Now this is where it gets interesting. Give us
Yes, for
5,
sure,
6, and 7 K Walk.
Yeah,
It's going to be very interesting.
for sure. My bad for jumping the gun on that one too, as well, Jay. I went with the fifth team. I went with the Chiefs. This is no particular order. I'm not, giving this 1 through 7, and ladies and gentlemen, just keep that in mind. But the first team in the out of division winners, outside of the division winners, I went with the Chiefs. I think, again, I think I really believe that this is a division has a legitimate chance to have all 4 teams coming in the playoffs in the AFC West. Not saying that they all will be, but they have a great chance. The next team, the 6th place team here, I went with the Miami Dolphins. I went back and forth with the Dolphins and the Ravens. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at, okay, I went to schedule by schedule, game by game. And I said, well, all right, they'll have one game better. So I went with the Dolphins based off of the scheduling. The last team I went with your Broncos, man. I went with the Broncos, and I wanted to put the Raiders in here, and I wanted to do the AFC West, all 4 teams, but I don't believe it's going to happen. I would be surprised if it did. I just don't believe it will. But I want to go with the Broncos at the 7th team right now. And again, I know I'm leaving out some big time teams out there. I know I'm leaving out the Ravens. I know I'm leaving out the Raiders, and possibly the Patriots. Doing some making some noise in an AFC as well. But again, I went with the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Broncos to round out my 7.
Hey, that's good stuff, K-Walk. And honestly, man, looking at this, I don't think we're all that different. I think we're going to end up pretty similar because, like you, I have the Broncos winning the West, but I have the Chargers getting in, right? We know they're going to play great defense, young and up and coming quarterback. So I definitely have the Chargers getting in. And I also put the Chiefs in that division as well. Because look, I'm just not, even though I said I think the Chiefs are going to take a step back this year, I don't think they're going to take that much of a step back and miss the playoffs. So I'm going to put the Chiefs in the playoffs. And then that last and final spot, I had the Raiders and I crossed them off. I said, I just don't think all 4 teams are going to get in.
Right.
So like you, I went with the Dolphins as well, man. I think Tua Tagovailoa, I think he's going to have a great year this year. I really do. I think the Dolphins are going to be better than people expect. So they jumped in for me in that very last spot. So I think if I got this correct, K-Walk, our lists are exactly the same, except I have the Titans getting in and you have the Colts getting in. And other than that, exactly. I think we got everyone else the same. So, ladies and gentlemen, K Walk and I have pretty much solved the AFC puzzle. But you're right, man. We are leaving some really good teams out, like no Ravens, no Steelers, as good as a coach Mike Tomlin is, no Raiders. You know what I mean? That Bill Belichick and the Patriots, like
man.
The AFC, man, it's just super competitive. So this was tough. This will be another one, man, that to put these notes to the side and then come back and look at it like around mid-season and kind of see where we are with this. But good stuff there, K-Walk, for sure. All right, man. Let's shift gears one more time and do a little bit of NBA talk because man, there's just been a lot of headlines this week in the NBA. The biggest one, Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets look like they've worked things out. They kind of put some of the things to the side. KD, for now at least, is going to stay. What were your thoughts, K-Walk, when you heard he was going to stay? And do you like this move for KD and the Nets?
Yeah, when I first heard it, Jay, I was like, okay, they're realizing that this is not going to pan out. I love to hear it from KD's standpoint. I know the Nets really didn't want to get rid of him, obviously, a talent like that, and everything that they were asking for in return. Said, okay, listen, we're kind of serious about KD, but if you want KD, we're just not going to give him to you because of the fact of the matter he wants out. He's requesting out. So, they were asking for big time names. If you look at the first two teams that he named, the Heat, they wanted Bam Adebayo. The Suns, they wanted Devin Booker. And the list goes on and on. But yeah, I do like it. When it first hit, I thought that when the smoke cleared, if you will, Jay, and no teams were biting, we weren't hearing about one serious team in the mix. Then that's why I kind of said, listen, they should just run this. Just I can't say run it back because they really didn't, run it to begin with because of Ben Simmons hasn't been on the court for the last 2 years. Kyrie was kind of out, due to the whole vaccination aspect of it. So I just thought that, they should give it a chance. And if they don't feel like it's going to work, I would say give a timeline to the trade deadline and say, listen, okay, let's see where we're at the trade deadline. And then that's where we'll figure out where we're going to continue to ride this thing out, or we're going to dismantle this. We're going to break this up. But I think the trade deadline is where they to say, listen, that's our measuring stick. Where are we at here? Are we number one seed? Are we in the mix? If we continue to go this, can we be that team? I think that's what they should do that. But and I think one of the things that you mentioned earlier is on Friday is that how they start. How they start is going to be huge as well. That's going to be a big indicator because that can losing can ruffle some feathers and winning can bring everyone together, make everyone happy. But I think they all did. I think they did what was right for both sides. I think the Nets did the right thing in keeping a great talent like Durant, and I think Durant did the right thing and said, "Listen, I'm going to continue to stay committed to this team."
Yeah, man, I agree with you 100%. I think all sides did the right thing. If I'm the Nets, look, if KD wants to leave, okay, I'm going to take a peek. But if I can't get back something that's going to help my team from basically going in the tank, then I'm not going to be willing to make that trade. So I thought the Nets were smart in saying, look, we're not going to make this trade unless we really feel like we're getting back decent value for Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
And likewise, if I'm one of those other teams, do I really want to blow up my whole roster to get KD? Right. I know he's a great player. I know he's a once in a lifetime type of player, but I'm not giving up my whole roster to get him because we have evidence that Kevin Durant alone is not good enough to get you a championship. He needs guys around him just like everybody else needs guys around them. So I think all sides did the right thing, man. And when you look at it, K-Walk, like the Nets, and this is a big question mark, as we've always talked about, but if you got KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons, maybe Joe Harris and Seth Curry, you trot those 5 guys out on the court, that's a pretty nice lineup, really and they did do some things for their bench as well. So I think the Nets, like you said, not run it back, but run it and see what happens, Exactly. So, yeah, man, I think everybody landed exactly where they should be. We talked about this a little bit on Friday, and you kind of alluded to it, K-Walk. What about feelings, man? Some of these guys are sensitive. When they open up training camp, are they going to be able to put that behind them, K-Walk, or is that going to take a little bit of time?
You know what, Jay? Like I said on Friday, I think the first step, they made that first step in putting the feelings behind. I think some of the feelings are still going to be there, but I just think that they all kind of, sat around a table or whatever the venue was and said, listen, I know I said this, I apologize, let's, what was the heat of the moment, whatever, however they wanted to clean it up. I think, Steve Nash may be that one guy that said, listen, you guys threw me under the bus. And these guys probably came out, KD, say, listen, I apologize for that. Listen, let's move on. Things didn't go the way we wanted them to go. So it was, I still had bad taste in my mouth. But listen, that's in the past. Let's come together now and see how we're going to do this going forward and how we can make this actually work, because on paper, we look great. So I think that, they kind of, right now, Jay, the feelings, the hurt feelings are kind of mended. If I can say that, if that's not an oxymoron, I guess they're mended. They can either be mended or not. So I'll say they're mended for the time being, but it all depends on how that winning or losing comes to play. If those feelings might come back if they're losing, and they may mend it a little bit more if they start to win a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I agree 100%, man. How they play is going to determine, right? If they come out losing, you could see that thing getting off the track really quickly. But if they have success, you can kind of see momentum build and they could have a really good year. So that's going to be very interesting to watch when the NBA season finally does get started. All right, K-Walk, another story, Chet Holmgren, the number one pick for the Oklahoma City Thunder. There was so much expectation, especially because he looked really good in the summer league. So people were very excited about Chet. Liz Frank fracture in the foot. He's done for the entire season.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this one, K-Walk?
Yeah, it was tough, Jay. I didn't really think about, the size of it, and I didn't really go into the depth of it like a lot of people did. Like I didn't immediately say, "Listen, oh, that's because of his size and the lack of body weight, things of that nature." I just thought that it was a freak accident that just took place because he was working out or in a position that that can happen anywhere. That can happen to you walking down the stairs. I know quite a few times I almost had that happen to me, but nonetheless, yeah. I mean, when I first heard it, I'm like, wow. Because there's the expectations on this young man is so high, and you just wanted to see what type of season he had, because the fact of the matter is he's 7 foot, 195 pounds. But when you dive into it a little bit more, then you start to look at it and it's okay, wow, maybe it is his body type, maybe it is he needs to put on more weight, things of that nature, because he's using his athleticism a lot more, whereas his foot is he's going to have issues with his foot or feet depending on his career. But hopefully he gets the right nutritionist, the right trainer, and they can combat this and say, listen, going forward, this is what we need to do to eliminate this or keep this from happening again. But tough loss for these guys. I don't want to say tough break because that sounds like it's a pun there, but I'm not trying to I throw the pun in there. But yeah, I'm just going to see how he bounces back, because that's going to be crucial. It's not about the setback, it's about the comeback, and I think that he's going to be dialed into it. I know a lot of people also said that he should have been playing in certain games or whatever, but it's your sport and you practice the way you play. So if you're going to practice against great competition, then you're going to put you want to get better each and every time that you work out, whether it just be in the practice or whether it be against live competition. But hats off to the brother, man. I just wish him a speedy recovery, man. I want to see him play for sure.
Yeah, man, I definitely want to see him play too. And it's unfortunate, but like you said, I don't hold it against him for playing in these pro-am games. Basketball players play basketball. That's what they do.
Right.
The only thing that makes me nervous is a tall, long guy, very thin, very frail. When you start to hurt your feet, it just, hopefully it's just a one-time thing and it's not going to be a pattern of different sort of foot issues, because that could derail his career. But let's hope it's just a one-time thing, because I'm excited to want to see this guy play too. The one silver lining, K-Walk, may be not having to play this year. He has some time to work on his body.
Yeah.
He can, as he's rehabbing, maybe he can put 10, 15 pounds on, come back next year with a little bit of a different body type. So that may be the one silver lining of this whole thing. All right, good stuff, K-Walk. We got to grab a break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, K-Walk's got some great topics for you, so stick around. We're going to talk some more college football. We're going to talk some NFL. So it's going to be a great half hour. You're listening to the Walkthrough with Kevin Walker and Jason Collins right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Before the break, ladies and gentlemen, we had a great segment there, Jay. Great stuff. We talked about Scott Frost, and is he on the hot seat? Is Scott Frost about to melt, if you will? Also, we gave our top 7 AFC playoff teams as well, and also we talked about we previewed Purdue and then Penn State Thursday night game, and football's back, ladies and gentlemen. Also, we talked about Kevin Durant and Chet Holmgren as well. So great stuff there, Jay. Want to circle back to the college football. We had they call it week 0, Jay, like yesterday, or week 0 when you have some of those games that some of them were interesting, but get your water, your mouth wet, if you will, for some football. We talked about obviously the Northwestern and Nebraska there. Want to talk some Big time games, Jay. We got some big time
Yes.
games this weekend. We got number 11 versus number 3. And I'm talking about Oregon and Georgia, Jay. I want to start right there. They played 3:30 p.m. on ABC, Jay, and that's going to be a good one, man. Give me your thoughts on this one, Jay. How do you see this one playing out? Number 11 going into well, it's actually they're going into Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. What say you about this game?
Man, I can't wait for this one. This is going to be a great one just because some of the storylines, right? Oregon's new head coach, Dan
Yeah,
Lanning, was the
Lanning.
Georgia
Yeah.
defensive coordinator last year. Georgia fans really have a sigh of relief after finally winning another national championship
Yeah.
last year. So, in some respect, it feels like Georgia's playing with house money this year because they won it
Mhm.
last year. But this is a game that Georgia really wants to win. Make no mistake about that. And like I said
Right.
earlier, first games are always tricky. You just never
Yes.
know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know exactly how your team's going to play. Georgia lost what 15 guys to the NFL draft last
Yes.
year. So
15,
this is a
Jay. Yes.
completely different football team that they're going to play with this year. But with all that being said, I still like Georgia. I just think they have recruited K Walk as well as anybody in the country over the last 5
Yes.
years. So even though a bunch of really great players walked out the door, they've got a whole bunch of really good players waiting to make their mark in college football. So to me, it's one of those games that might be close in the first half as they kind of
Yeah.
feel each other out. But I expect Georgia to win this thing maybe by 10 to 14 once this thing finally gets settled. So I like Georgia, but I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, Jay. I mean, you mentioned it. First game. You just don't know what you're going to get. You know, you and like you mentioned with Georgia, they lost 15 guys to the NFL, and that's huge. I mean, they're talking. I'm talking about first rounders, especially on from their defensive side of the ball. But they got Kirby Smart back. They're still the defending champions. You know that bullseye is going to be on their back. They got Stetson Bennett back as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play throughout the season for sure because the SEC is loaded this year for the most part. A lot of people were predicting Texas A&M, but we'll dive into that at a later time. But yeah, as far as this game goes, I do like Georgia. We have Dan Lanning, like you mentioned, former Georgia defensive coordinator. They're coming in there, man. It's going to be interesting to see how they start off, Jay. I think the first half is going to be close, but I think ultimately Kirby Smart and his guys will pull away because I still think that even though they lost those guys there, as many guys as they did last year, I still think they have enough to get it done. And I just think, even though Oregon's number 11, I just don't think they can match up in a full 60-minute game with Georgia. So I like Georgia as well there, Jay. Next one, Jay, we got another one, another classic, man. Well, on paper it should be a classic, but we got number 5 Notre Dame going into number 3. I'm sorry, I think they're number 3 or Ohio State. They're going into the shoe there. You got Marcus Freeman there, Jay. He's the former defensive coordinator for Notre
Yeah.
Dame after Brian Kelly, went down to LSU. And they got the young kid, sophomore kid there, Tyler Buckner as their quarterback, meaning Notre Dame. But you got Ryan Day, you got C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is one of the high favorites to win the Heisman as well. And Ohio State is in the conversation as far as being a national champion. But how do you see this game playing out, Jay?
Yeah, okay, Walk. I like Coach Freeman. I definitely think
Mhm.
he's the right guy for that
Yeah.
Notre Dame job. I think he's going to do a fantastic job there. But I think this is a tough place to start your head coaching career, right? You got
For
to
sure,
go
Jay.
into the horseshoe, man, on the first game of the year. CJ Stroud, look, I think by the time the year is over, this guy could very likely be the Heisman Trophy winner. He's that good. I know Ohio State lost a bunch of really good receivers last year, but they have a whole
Yeah.
nother crop sitting there waiting
Yes.
to show you what they can do. Marvin Harrison Jr., he showed in the bowl game last year.
What?
He's fantastic. They have the Julian
Mhm.
Fleming, and then a bunch of other guys as well. So I just think the Buckeyes offensively are going to eventually be too much
Yeah.
for Notre Dame. So I like Ohio State to win this thing. That's one of the things I don't love about the preseason rankings, K-Walk. I mean,
Yeah.
Notre Dame, I think they might be a good team. They don't feel like the number 5 team in the
Nah,
country
not
to
to me
me.
either.
So I feel
Right.
like they're a little bit overranked. So I like Ohio State to win this one. Tough start for Coach Freeman, but I think he's going to do a great
Yeah.
job in South Bend.
Yeah, Jay, you mentioned Coach Freeman there, man. I didn't really know too much. I was watching a story on him the other day, and he's really a player's coach, man. He really is. He's engaged in each and every one of his players, man. I mean, he has that open door policy where guys can go in his office and talk to him about anything, not just football, about life or whatever the case may be, about school, whatever. And he just seems genuine, Jay. He just seems like he really understands it. And his road, if you will, because he was I think he was a first round pick for, I forget who it was, but he only played 1 year. He retired. After he got drafted, he retired because he had a heart condition. So, he went, he started coaching as a graduate assistant because he went to Ohio State for sure. So he has some ties there, and he rose through the ranks, man, pretty well because of the type of coach he is, the type of person he is, first and foremost. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of year Notre Dame has this for sure, Jay. And I'm just like you. I don't know if they're the 5th ranked team. Like you said, they don't feel like a 5th ranked team.
Right.
To me, just don't feel it. But Coach Freeman could change their minds there, and the way he coaches, and it could build them up to be a 5th ranked team. But going over to the shoe and going over to Ryan Day and those guys, man,
Yeah.
that offense is just unbelievable, Jay. Unbelievable with CJ Stroud. You mentioned Marvin Harrison Jr., young kid there. Very, very talented. Obviously, his father, one of the greatest to do it as well, the same position. And what is it, Nigsby, Smith Nigsby as well. He's one of
Yeah.
those guys who's carried over from last year with that tremendous wide receiver core. It just seems like they just reload at that position. So I do like Ohio State to win this game, Jay. I'm not going to say it's a blowout because I do believe Marcus Freeman will have those guys ready to play and keep them in the game. So it won't be a blowout, but I do like Ohio State to win this game nonetheless. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Again, that's 7:30 on ABC, ladies and gentlemen. Check that one out. All right, yeah, for sure. Next game, Jay, is oh my God, my Florida Gators, man. Rebuilding season for the Florida Gators under Bill Napier, man. I just don't know what we're going to get with this, man. And they start off with the 7th ranked Utah, 7th ranked Utah, led by Kyle Whittingham, and those guys, and Cameron Rising, who's transferred the protocol transfer from Texas. So this is going to be interesting to see what type of team Florida has. They're in the swamp, so that it helps there. They're going to have that crowd on their side. But I just don't know. There's not too much hype around this particular Florida Gator team. And that's saying a lot, Jay, when you don't see Florida in the top 25. You don't even see them. You see they get a couple of votes, receiving votes,
Yeah.
and that's rare to start a season. But they do have the young kid, Anthony Richardson, redshirt sophomore there, who, he shared some time last year, with, I can't think of his name. He left, but nonetheless, but he's changed over his mentality. He changed his brand, if you will, he went from AR-15, for obvious reasons. So he's changing his brand over. But I'm hearing a lot of good things about Billy Napier. I don't know if it's enough to get past Utah, but what say you about this game, Jay?
Yeah, man, this is interesting because when I start looking into this one, I was surprised that Florida wasn't ranked. Like I wasn't expecting them to be too high, but I thought maybe they'd be somewhere between 20 and 25. I mean, it is Florida that we're talking about. This is a program with a tremendous history in college football. And I know Bill Napier, he's got some work to do there, but I think just like Coach Freeman, I think Napier is the right guy for the job.
Yeah.
I think Anthony Richardson's going to be really, really good this year, K-Walk.
Yeah.
We saw some flashes last year. I know he struggled with some injuries as well, but I think he's going to be really, really good. But Utah, man, again, this is a tough place to start if you're Florida, right? You'd love to maybe
Yeah.
get one of those so-called cupcake games under your
Yeah, for
belt
sure,
before you
Jay.
have to go play against a team like Utah, who, kind of like ever since Urban Meyer was there, they've just been a
Yeah.
very good quality college football program. They're probably not going to win the national championship or anything like that, but they're going to
Right.
be a very good college football team. So I think early in the year, I like Utah in this one just because there's so
Yeah.
many questions around that Gator program. But I would not write the Gators off for this year. I think they're going to make some
Right.
noise in that SEC East. They're going to beat some teams this year that nobody thinks that they're going to beat. So I think Florida's going to have a good year. I just think
Yeah.
starting with Utah, that's a tough ask. So I'll take
Yeah, for
Utah.
sure.
Might be closer than people think, though. Might be closer than people think.
Yeah, Jay, and with the Gators, man, you're always going to get talent. I mean, you're always going to
That's
see
right.
talent on the field. Where they lack a lot in a lot of categories is that self discipline, man. And too many penalties, too many offsides. I mean, you name it. I mean, that's one thing. And Dan Mullen seemed to have it seemed in the beginning of his tenure there. It seems to me that he had that under control, but then for some reason or another it just imploded on them, and I don't know what took place there, and where they was just so undisciplined and too many penalties. I mean, even the one game, I think it was against Georgia, when the one guy threw the shoe like 20 yards, and that was like fourth down, and
Yes.
that wound up costing them the game, man. And it was like, why are we seeing this? But then and it started to trickle down. So I think it was more stuff in house that we weren't aware of. But I think Billy Napier is exactly what Florida needs. I mean, he's a good coach, don't get me wrong, but I think he's more of a disciplinarian guy. And I think that's where, Florida needs. It's kind of like when that kid, you see has so much potential, but he always gets in trouble. He just needs that act right. I think that Billy
Yeah.
Napier can give him that act right, if you will. So I think that's what Florida is, for sure. But even after saying all that, I still think Utah, will win this game. And don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not rooting for Utah by any stretch. I'm gonna be pacing the floor, like I always do with my Gators, man. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's just going to be a fill out, and it's going to be a wait and see type of season for Florida Gator fans. So don't put too much. No, don't take too much out of this game. Whether it be don't get too high and don't get too low, depending on the outcome of the game, of course. So good stuff there, Jay, man. I just can't wait for this season to get started for sure. All right, what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to grab our next break. When we come back, I want to just switch it over to the NFL. Jay, I got our better, worse, and same segment. This is our tight end edition. I did this on Wednesday night with my co-host, Mr. Eric Scott. Also, I got a good one for you as far as start bench cut, Jay, and this is going to hit home for you for sure. I can't wait for you to hear this one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into the Walkthrough Radio Show with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Walkthrough Radio Show. Again, with myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to us on the radio, you can also catch our replays on Spotify and Apple as well. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please go to the Walkthrough Radio Show. Click on like, click on subscribe. Let's get this thing jumping. And send some comments in there as well, as far as any thoughts and opinions or any our predictions as well. The AFC, I know it's going to be a lot of different
Yes.
thoughts and opinions on that AFC playoffs, those AFC playoff teams for sure. But yes, jump on those, ladies and gentlemen, and give us the likes and all that good stuff, if you will. All right, Jay. This week, I like to do better, worse, or same. And this week I got the tight end edition here, and I'm going to start off with my guy here, Mr. George Kittle. Mr. George Kittle, obviously, he's without Jimmy G to start the season. I say to start the season, ladies and gentlemen. And last year he had 71 receptions, 910 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He's got his new guy there in Trey Lance. Do you see him having the better, worse, or same season?
Man, this is a good one, K-Walk, because my mind immediately goes to worse because I'm not sure what's going to happen with Trey Lance.
Right.
So you're thinking maybe Kittle won't have as good a year, but I also think there's a chance that because Trey Lance is new, maybe he's going to be relying on that tight end a
Hmm.
little bit more, right? Not
Right.
necessarily making throws too far down the field, but just getting the ball to his tight end. So for that reason, I'm going to say he's going to have a better season, K-Walk. I think this is a
Okay.
guy that Trey Lance will feel comfortable with, and he's going to go to him early and often. So I like Kittle to be better this year.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on this, man. I'm watching Trey Lance, and only got a small sample size in the preseason right now, and he looks great. He looks good on some throws. Some throws, just like, okay, well, you got to calm down there. But I think overall he'll be all right. I just don't know what type of season. I don't know if he's going to be a numbers guy though. I just don't know Trey. I mean, Trey
Yeah,
may
that's
just give you
true.
like 3,000, 4,000. I just don't know how to feel about him. I'm not saying he's going to be a bad quarterback. I just think in this offense, you don't need to be a 5,000 yard receiver. I mean, a quarterback and 30 touchdowns. Not saying he can't do that, but in this offense, he doesn't need to do that. So with that being said, I'm going to say he'll probably have the same season, Jay. I'll say George Kittle have the same season because these are good numbers to have in
Yeah.
in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and I think that that Trey Lance is he's gonna be just a little bit better than Jimmy Garoppolo was, and it's because of the mobility and his arm strength as well. So I'm gonna say he'll have the same season. All right, next guy, his kind of counterpart, if you will, and that's Mr. Travis Kelce's arguably the best in the game. Last year with Patrick Mahomes, we know they no longer have Tyreek Hill.
Right.
So Kelsey had a heck of a season last year. He had 92 receptions, 1,125 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Better, worse, or same
Man,
season.
that's going to be hard to beat. That's going to be
Yeah.
really hard to beat. Even though I think they're going to go to him maybe a little bit more because Tyreek Hill is not there. That's a heck of a year, like you said. I'm going to say the same because I don't see this guy falling off, but I think
Right.
doing better than that is not obviously not going to be easy. So I think he'll have another great year, but I think it'll be about the same.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Jay. I'm gonna say the same as well. I just think that that's Patrick Mahomes' safety blanket, and I think he's going to
Yep.
start experiment with some of these other receivers as well. He doesn't have to look to that deep guy in Tyreek Hill. He's going to start spreading it, out to Juju Smith-Schuster and other guys as well. So I'm going to say he have the same season as well. All right, next guy we got Mr. Mark Andrews from the Baltimore Ravens. Last year with them, they're without some big time receivers. They have a couple of receivers in there, and Bateman and but these aren't guys that scare you on paper. But last year, Mark Andrews had 107 receptions,
Yeah.
1,361 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Better, worse, or
Man,
same.
that's a great year, man. Like
Right.
when you were kind of leading up to it, I was thinking, well, he's going to have to be better because there's no one else to throw the ball to. But when you hit
Right.
me with those numbers, I'm like, man, how much better can he actually be? So I think they'll go to him often as they can. I don't know how much better he can be. So I'm going to say the same again. Again, he'll have a great year, but can he really be much better than he was last year?
Yeah,
I don't know.
exactly.
So I'll say the same, K Walt.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you there, Jay. I'm gonna say the same as well. I just think it's hard to beat those numbers for sure. Even if you're the only, even if you're the only receiver that he has to go to. All right, next guy, young rookie. Down your way in Atlanta. That's Kyle Pitts. He had an okay
Yeah.
rookie season. I guess it can only go better. But let's give me your thoughts on this. But he had 68 receptions, 1,026 yards, and 1 touchdown. Better, worse, the same.
Yeah, man, you would have to think he's going to have to be better than that, right? I mean, not that that's
Okay.
bad. I mean, the 68 receptions is decent, the 1,000 yards, okay, but the 1 touchdown, you would think that you
Yeah.
get some more production out of Kyle Pitts in terms of scoring the ball. So I think
Right.
he's going to be better. We know Matt Ryan has moved on. It's Marcus Mariota's show for now in
Yeah.
Atlanta. So look, I think if Mariota's going to have any success, he's got to get the ball to Kyle Pitts. So I'm going to say he'll have a better year this year.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I'm going to say he's on the better season as well. I mean, he just one of the the best weapons in the league, not just on this team. I mean, and he's a mismatch problem for the defense as well. So I'm going to
Yeah.
say he'll have a better season. It's just hard to predict with with Mariota. He's going to be the quarterback full time there. If you're going to see the young rookie out of Cincinnati as well. But I think he'll be the safety blanket for these quarterbacks nonetheless. All right, next guy. I'm going to skip one guy here. I'm going to go to your guy because we're a little pressed on time right now. But I'm going to your guy and I'm calling him your guy because you pledge your allegiance to the Cowboys, and that's Dalton Schultz, man. That's Dalton Schultz. When I looked this up, I didn't realize he had a season the way that he had last season. He had 78 receptions, 808 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns. Better, worse, or same?
Yeah, I didn't realize he had that kind of season either, K-Walk. But
Right.
I think I'm gonna put him at the same. I know the Cowboys are lacking a little bit in the receiver area, so maybe he'll catch a few more balls, but I don't see it being significantly better than last year. So I'm gonna say he's gonna have the same type of year.
Yeah, I have to agree, Jay. I have to agree because CeeDee Lamb is their big time guy there. They're gonna lean on him, but he may see a lot of double teams because on the other side of him, you just don't know. You got James Washington who's going to be out a few weeks. You got Michael Gallup who's questionable for the first couple games or first game at least, and you just don't know what you'll get with those other receivers. So I'm going to say he'll have the same season as well. All right, Jay. Did my start bench cut, man, and since we're coming up on college season, man, I dedicated my start bench cut to Big Ten, man. And these are guys that you played. These are all guys that you played against. At least I believe you played against all of these guys.
Okay.
So all right. So the first one I'm going to go with, these are receivers that you played against. And correct me if I'm wrong if you didn't play against any of these receivers. First guy, these are all Ohio State guys, first and foremost. All right. So start bench cut. You got David Boston.
Yep.
You got Terry Glenn.
Oh.
And you got Joey Galloway.
Yeah, I played against all three of those guys, K-Walk, and all three great receivers in their own right. But for me, Joey Galloway and Terry Glenn were scary just because of their speed. They were just so darn fast, K-Walk, that I knew if I got in a one-on-one situation with those guys, I better be on my horse or they were running right by me. Boston, different kind of receiver, big, physical,
big
which
truth,
I kind of like that more. That's easier for me to guard. So I'm going to start Joey Galloway because his speed was just the scariest thing I had ever seen. Terry Glenn, I'll bench him. I'm going to cut Boston just because I like the physicality. So that was a matchup I would look forward to.
All right, good stuff. Hey, E. Scott's listening, and he chimed in. He said he's going to go the same way with you. He's going to start Galloway. He's going to bench Glenn, and he's going to cut Boston. So good stuff there.
Yes, sir.
All right, next guy. Next guy's here. I believe you played against these. Well, I know you played against one. I know you played with the other one, and I believe you played against the third one. But nonetheless, let's go. We got Drew Brees, we got Kerry Collins, and we got Tom Brady.
So we're talking about their college careers, right?
College. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. College. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have came up with it if it was NFL.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Look, I think if we're talking college, look, I played against Drew when he was a freshman. So he didn't really do all the Drew Brees type of stuff. So I got to start Kerry Collins, man. KC on that Rose Bowl team led arguably the greatest offense in college football history that year. Yeah. I got to start Kerry Collins. I'm going to bench Drew Brees because obviously the things that he did at Purdue were just absolutely tremendous. And I got to cut Tom Brady because at Michigan, like when we played, he was still splitting time, K-Walk. He wasn't even really the starter. He was kind of bouncing in and bouncing out. So I got to cut the GOAT based on his college stuff at Michigan.
Yeah. I figured I would make it easy for you as far as that aspect of it. But Kerry Collins was the man. I mean, he had that crazy little hitch in his throw. I don't know, but it was smooth. He got it done, man. And I'm not just saying that because we were both born on the same exact day and the same exact year. So shout out to Kerry Collins, sharing the same birthday, same year, and everything. I believe you even picked off Drew Brees, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
did pick off Drew. I
Okay.
picked Drew off,
Okay.
man. Yep, that's my
Okay.
claim to fame. I got you, Drew.
All right, E. Scott went with. Well, I ain't gonna say exactly what he said, but he went with Drew Brees. He's gonna start Drew Brees. He's gonna bench Kerry Collins, and he's going to cut the goat. All right, so good stuff there. All right, next one here, Jay. These are coaches that you played against, and that's Hayden Fry from Iowa. Correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong if you didn't
Yep.
play against these
Yep.
guys. All
Very
right,
good coach.
you got Lloyd Carr from Michigan
Yep.
and Barry Alvarez from Wisconsin. Starting
Oh
bench
yeah,
cut.
man. All three great coaches. Great coaches. Man, I'm gonna start with Lloyd, Michigan. What's his name again? I
Okay.
can't.
Lloyd Carr. Lloyd Carr.
Lloyd Carr. Yeah, Lloyd Carr. I'm
Mhm.
gonna start him only because they beat us. And those other two
Okay.
teams, they never won against us, but Lloyd Carr got us my senior year. So I'm gonna start him. I think I'm
Okay.
gonna bench, man, Hayden Fry, Barry Alvarez,
Yeah.
both great coaches, man. I think I might bench Hayden Fry just out of respect. I mean, this guy was
Okay.
was a
Yeah.
legend at Iowa, and Barry Alvarez, same thing, man. It's hard to cut any one of these guys, but I guess I'll cut Barry Alvarez.
Yeah, I hear you that. E. Scott said he don't know any of these guys, so he's not going to put them in any order. So E. Scott. All right, good stuff there. All right, we right up on the clock here, man. So some great stuff. That's all the time that we have. And like I always do, ladies and gentlemen, I always want to leave you with something. This week,
Hey, K
I'll
Walt,
leave you
just
with the.
real
Yeah,
real quick,
go ahead.
man.
Go ahead, brother.
Before you leave us, E. Scott, man, I know you're listening. We got to get you on here, man. We got to get you on
Yeah,
this
man.
Zoom call. We got to get you on, man. We got to get you on the walkthrough, E. Scott.
Yeah, man. Yeah, E. Come on now. Make your YouTube debut, man. Make your YouTube debut. Oh, for sure. That's gonna be one for the ages, E. So let's make this happen. All right,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, again, great stuff there. All right. Again, I like to leave you guys with something. As always, today I'll leave you with this. Good things come to people who wait, but better things come to those who go out and get them. All right. So for myself, Kevin Walker, alongside Jason Collins, for the Walkthrough Radio Show right here on Never Had It So Good Sports Radio. God willing, we'll talk to you next week.